Imagine you're driving down a really busy road, and I mean really busy. There's trees and there's cars and buses and malls and shops, houses, lots going on that street. Imagine you're driving down there and suddenly everything disappears, all of the traffic in the houses, and it's replaced by farm fields, maybe even buggies and horses, people in old-fashioned dress maybe. You'd probably think that you're either going mad or you're imagining it. So now think about those people who had those experiences and then maybe did a bit of research and found that many other people had those experiences as well. Many other people driving down that same spot of busy road experienced the landscape changing before their eyes. It going back to an old time, an era that was long gone. I think your mind might be a little bit blown. And that's what's happening here on this street, Shelbourne Street in Victoria, Vancouver Island in Canada. And there's a very famous experience that lots of people have. It's called the Shelbourne Street Vortex. And I'm going to be investigating that, trying to find out what the reasons for time slips are, what might be going on, and doing some in-the-field investigations as well to see if I can locate the exact spot and whether or not I get to experience anything odd. Now, my interest in time slips, well, that was sparked when I was a young girl, probably about 12 or 13, and it was because my dad shared a story that he'd experienced back in Liverpool where he got to experience a time slip. Now, he was sitting on a bus, was parked at some lights, he was waiting to continue his journey, and he was just looking out at just like a little town centre. It was full of people shopping, going about their errands, chatting to each other, and then what he described was kind of a bubble emerged right in the centre of where he was looking, and it grew bigger, and in that bubble he was able to see this Victorian scene, this scene of people in top hats, men in top hats, and women in long dresses, and horses and carriages, all moving like they were there, like they were real, in the centre of what was a very modern day scene. It was surreal for him, couldn't explain it, and it was an experience that stayed with him for the rest of his life. And when he told me the story, well, I was kind of hooked on the lore and the experiences of time slips, or time warps as they're sometimes called. And I've been keeping track of this for many years since. So I guess I was delighted to find out that we had a time slip in my new home of Victoria, and I've wanted to investigate this for some years now. So here it is, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, it was many years ago, probably about 10 years ago. I was driving in my car past Shelbourne Street, and as I was driving, I thought for myself that I was thinking it, that I saw like an old town, and it had like buggies and carriage, and I saw some people and, you know, the nice old traditional dressing and top hats and dresses, and then off to the left I saw a person on a horse with feathers, you know, a feather thing. And it was just like, wow, that was kind of a quick little movie I just saw in my head, and I couldn't understand what it was. And I thought, oh, it's just me, like maybe imagining things. And then my sister-in-law lives in that area, and I talked to her about it. And she said she's experienced it on the street, where she just saw a quick vision of sort of like an old town too. And she lives in the apartment block not far from there. And quite often she says she hears drumming at nighttime, when she's like laying in bed, when it's quiet in the area, she'll hear native drumming quite often, and she wasn't sure. And I said, well, so we started talking about it, and then I researched on the internet and found out about the Shelbourne Street Vortex kind of thing, and I went, oh. And once I read their stories, then I was like, wow, I think that's what I experienced, right? Because it felt like I was watching a little mini movie for like 30 minutes, but it was probably only a couple seconds when I went through it, right? So it was, but I didn't know what it was at the time until I sort of did some research on it. Yeah, now that I've seen it and heard it from others, I was like, that's exactly where I was, right? So it's, yeah, definitely old times. I don't know, got to be late 1800s, I would think, or not early 1900s,
So one of the things that I did before I went to investigate at Shelbourne Street is I wanted to just really try and narrow down where the actual vortex was. So what were the boundaries of that space? It was really hard to find very accurate accounts as to where that was. So I did some map dowsing, which I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to try and dowse to see if I can find the vortex. And as you can see, Shelbourne Street's a long street, so lots of Google Map printouts that have been stuck together. And I'm going to use a pendulum to dowse, and I'm asking the pendulum to find me any edges of a vortex, and I'm going to just set it into the fine swing. It's kind of neutral, and so it's searching. I'm slowly going up Shelbourne Street, and what you'll see when it hits somewhere, so I'm starting to get a change there, as you can see. And so I'm going to mark that, so it's kind of around there, around Rowan Street. And so I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to ask to find me the other edge. So continue on. There we go. Let's get in the other edge there. So I will show you that a little bit clearer. So just before Rowan Street, and then going up towards, well, that's kind of stopping around Maud Hunter's pub, which is interesting because I definitely got an experience shared with me from Catherine, who saw a spirit at Maud Hunter's pub, and it is famously haunted as well. So so that's really interesting. So the next thing we're going to do is to see if there's any ley lines coming through. So the next thing I'm going to do is to see if there's any energy layers coming through. So as you can see, I found where the vortex is, and that corresponds very much with the small number of accounts that I've been able to find, pinpointing exactly where this vortex happens. So the next thing I wanted to do was check whether there were any energy layers that were cutting across that space. And you'll see from this picture here that there are crossing of energy layers, which I find really fascinating, is that they are dissecting through where that vortex actually is. And so, does that add some credibility to the theory that, vortexes can be produced where those crossing of Earth energy lines are? I don't know. The jury's still out, but I did find it fascinating that we have these crossings. So it's 11:15 on a Friday evening, and I'm going to go out and see if I can investigate the Shelbourne vortex. I was map dowsing a little earlier and identified where I think the vortex starts and where it ends. So I'm going to go out with a set of rods, some other equipment, and my sister from another Mr. Matilda, and we're going to see if we can maybe sleuth identify what's going on, find some anomalies, who knows, but it's going to be fun anyway. So we're at the Shelbourne Street Vortex, and we are in what we think is the middle of the vortex, well, just at the start of one end of the vortex, and the K2 meter is definitely reacting to energy here. Not quite sure what that is, but we're going to do some more further investigations. So again, we're just at the start of where we think the vortex is on Shelbourne Street, and we are getting some hits with the K2, and we also have the Mel meter with us. There we go. And it looks like that's picking up, that's definitely picking up some fluctuations as well. Ooh. So we're definitely picking up energy. I'm just going to ask the rod to show me the edge of the vortex. Okay, and we're going to just track the vortex. I've already done some map dowsing. It's pretty accurate where the map dowsing picked up, and I'll show you that in the video. But I'm just going to double check the line here. This is the start of the vortex, so it's showing me that the vortex starts here. Every time I get to this point, if I walk back, so this is definitely one of the outer edges of the vortex. So what we found is just outside of the vortex, there's nothing showing, and as we start to move in, it starts to really react when we're inside the vortex, or certainly what we believe to be the vortex, which is pretty interesting, really. So it's picking up some form of energy. You know, is it electrical energy? Is it earth energy connected to a vortex? We don't know yet, but it's pretty interesting.
The red's coming.
And we're still inside what we think is inside the vortex, and we're still getting these energy readings. Again, you know, could it be, you know, EMF from the building, or is this something to do with the unique energy that is produced at Shelbourne? So we're just going to park up in Donnelly Street. This is Pear. We're going to find Donnelly Street so that we can... Well, there's Rowan. We're here on Shelbourne Street. We're going to see if the vortex is true. Did some map dowsing this morning. I've picked up 2 spots edge of the vortex, so we think the vortex starts and where it ends. So we've just been to the other end of the vortex and tested that, and we picked something up. So now we're just going to have a go and see if we can pick up this end of the vortex as well. So we'll have some fun. So I'm just asking the rod to show me the direction of the edge of the vortex, and it's taking me here. And so we're just going to track and follow it. And I've asked the rods to tell me where the edge of the start of the vortex is. And it's got it here, right by this bin. But what's really interesting is it's right by that road, which is where I picked it up when I was map dowsing. So from my calculations, the start of the vortex is here, and then the end of the vortex is at Mud Hunter's pub, and that's the boundary of the vortex. And I just think it's interesting that I picked that up on map dowsing. I've now confirmed it with my rods. The other really interesting thing is what we've been getting from the K2, and it's definitely when we're in this vortex zone we're getting hits with the K2 meter as well, which is pretty interesting. So we've found the edges of the vortex, and so we're just on the outer edges of one end of it, the other end being at Maud Hunters. I was thinking of Maud Miller's, but that isn't right. Maud Hunters. And we're going back there because when we were there it felt a little bit more active than this end of the vortex, and we're going to try a ghost box session to see whether or not we can connect with anything, maybe something from past history. You never know what we're going to get, so let's see.
So it's like, again, it's like it's in and out.
So we are outside Maud Hunter's pub now, and as you can see we're getting massive spikes on the K2 meter. So let's see if we can maybe have a conversation with it before we put the ghost box on. So
okay, you
off you go.
No, you go ahead.
If there is a spirit here, can you light those lights up for me?
If there isn't a spirit here, can you light those lights up for me? So does anyone want to say anything? So we'll turn on the ghost box. If you can light those lights up, we'll turn on the ghost box and then we can talk to you.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go, a little blip.
Spike.
So if that was you, can you do that again? Just light it up to that second light.
Oh, very good.
Excellent.
That's excellent.
So if you're getting the hang of how to communicate, can you light the lights up if you know how we want to talk to you? So how it works is that you light the lights up in answer to our questions. Do you understand that? Can you light the lights up if you understand that?
Good.
Thank you. So are you in the car with us? We heard some knocking and banging in the back before. Did you hitch a ride? It feels too random to be a spirit, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
Maybe it's energy.
Just might be energy.
Or maybe it's something that's not in the car, but maybe it's around.
Yeah, are you
look
around?
at, there it goes. It just lit up.
Are you in Mud Hunters?
Are you an energy that's just here? Oh, and you come back and forth, or I don't know, you ask.
Are you connected to Mud Hunters who are outside?
Are you underground? Are you from another time? It's quite random, isn't it?
It is quite random.
It's
So
like spikes of energy or something.
yeah,
more
but nothing intelligent that's
No,
like
I wouldn't-
answering
I don't think
questions
so.
or anything like that. So I think we're gonna have a go at the doing a ghost box session now, and maybe we'll get the two of them going in unison. Who knows? It's hard. We might be able to hear your voice. My name's Dawn, and I've got my friend Matilda in the car. If there's anybody here who'd like to talk to us, that sounds like music.
That sounds like a door closing.
It did actually. If you try really hard and come close, we might be able to hear your voice. So now we're going to go a little bit further down Shelbourne, because there are other reports of, I don't know, time slip that happens down by Mount Doug. We've had reports of people seeing a building on fire and fire trucks and firemen with hoses, but actually it's just a time slip and it's not real. So that's been reported a couple of times, so we're going to do a little bit of investigating down there now.
Oh. Okay.
So we're off to see down by Mount Doug to see if we can catch that other anomaly. It's pretty dark down there, so I don't think we'll be getting out with the dowsing rods to see if we can pick anything up. It's a little bit remote, but we'll drive through it and see what we can pick up.
It's on.
I always find this stretch really spooky with the, I'm assuming these are Gary Oak.
They
all
are.
look
They are.
spiny and spooky.
Like they're gonna grab you.
Yes. So now we're into Mount Doug Park. As you can see, it's dark and there's no way we're getting out to with the dowsing rods here. But we're just going to cruise by and see whether or not we can sense anything, pick anything up. Maybe pick something up with a camera. So I don't know what you guys do on a Friday night at 12:37 in the morning, but if you're a paranormal investigator and a metaphysical researcher, you come out to see if you can test some theories. And it's quite fun. see as Bigfoot now.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
That would be pretty cool. Just,
Yeah.
lolloping across the road.
Yeah.
So is it here?
Mm-hmm.
So these sea view suites is where the fire, or the memory of the fire has been seen, and it just isn't there. So a time slip, something that happened in the past that just burst through into the present day. Who knows? But it's a fascinating story. So it's 1:16 in the morning. I've just come back from Shelbourne Street investigating the Vortex. Just arrived at home now. Some really interesting things that we found. Definitely I was able to pick up the two edges of the Vortex using my dowsing rods. Exactly where I had identified them mapped out in this afternoon. So that was pretty cool, but really interesting K2 fluctuations. So we had a K2 meter and we were getting spikes of energy. I mean, you'll see it on the footage, spikes of energy. And, I've got to wonder, is there something, going on, not just about earth energy, not just about, energy lays, not just about, kind of time slips, but is there something going on, kind of with high EMF readings or fluctuating EMF readings that are just creating the conditions for these time slips to appear in our modern day? I don't know, but it's a pretty interesting, we had some interesting experiences this evening investigating the Vortex, and it was a lot of fun. But now, time to go to bed. Talk a little bit about the theories behind time slips and why they occur. Now, as a paranormal researcher, I've been wondering whether or not ghost sightings are in fact time slips. Now, paranormal theory suggests that the ghost that is regularly seen is in fact an imprint and no more than what's called a video recording, and the theory is called the stone tape theory, and it's one that has a lot of credibility with many paranormal researchers. The theory suggests that an event can be recorded into the fabric of the landscape, like a recording which will play itself out over and over again when the conditions are right. Now, some postulate that it's the stone itself that holds the recording, which is hence its name. And I'm not sure, I think it's more than that, but I am a proponent of the theory. But as I'm delving more into time slips, it's left me wondering if this provides a more compelling reason. So when we see the White Lady walk across the room, or we hear the battle cries at Gettysburg along with gunfire, maybe we're not witnessing an echo from the past, but a time slip where their time and space has somehow bled into ours. Perhaps we're not seeing the ghost of somebody who's dead, but they're very much alive and living in another time dimension. A friend of mine, Catherine, shared a few experiences that she had, and one was very close to the Shelbourne Vortex itself, in a local pub. She reports to have witnessed a woman looking out of one of the windows on the top floor. So is this an example of the imprint of the spirit being left looking out of the window, or was it a time slip? It's interesting as that very pub features in my investigation of the Shelbourne Street Vortex. Now, for some, the time slip phenomena is based on the scientific theory that time is not linear, but it rather occurs like water in a lake, so kind of rippling around the same point in space. Most of us view time as linear, so 60 seconds creates a minute and 60 minutes creates an hour and so on. However, quantum physics is coming up with the realization that time isn't linear. It's a layered concept, and this layering would point to multiple times being present at a singular location at any given moment. And this is very intriguing to me. So are there multiple lifetimes being played out at the same time? And then sometimes they bleed into each other. to create what we know as a time slip. It sounds very plausible. Now, what I find fascinating is that many ordinary people report time slips. And what I mean by ordinary is that they haven't got any experience, they've not experienced the paranormal before or since. Something triggered the time slip for them. Something either created an ability in the person to see other eras at that moment, or something happened to allow this bleed through. So what are those triggers? Well, I don't think anybody knows for sure, but there are some interesting theories that I've collected over the years, and I'm going to share those with you now. So firstly, the individual's own brainwave state could be the trigger. So maybe you need to be in a somewhat altered state of consciousness. So the term used is often a hypnagogic state. Conscious, but at the same time not. Now, this certainly would be the state that my dad was in when he had his experience, just chilling out on the bus, totally relaxed, and in an altered state when he was looking out of the window. And in this brainwave state, we're more able to tap into our psychic senses. Now, another theory is that time slips are more likely to occur where there is a crossing of energy ley lines. These energy lines exist within the earth, and it's thought that where they cross, they create a vortex, or a place with enhanced energy that lends itself to creating the conditions that enable a time slip to occur. Now, environment is also thought to contribute to time slips. So there is a theory about infrasound that contributes to time slips happening in certain places. Now, infrasound is sound that's below the normal range of human hearing, and it's said to affect the brain to the point of causing people to feel unwell. So if there is infrasound present, could this be producing a hypnagogic effect on the brain? Again, another interesting theory, and one that I think is definitely worth further exploration. And finally, I also came across the theory of solar flares that seem to speed up time. So according to the theory, solar flares are at their highest summer through October. And this is more likely to be when the solar flares are the most intense. And it's interesting that at the Shelbourne Street Vortex, October is said to be the most active. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have a question, pop it down below and I will respond. Please do consider subscribing and hitting the bell to be notified when I upload a new video. Ta-ta for now.